It's October, the month of ghost stories, tales of the creatures of the night, and 50% off all candy that you say you're gonna buy for the trick-or-treaters, but really you're just buying for yourself.
Have you actually done that?
So today's episode is going to be all three of the things that make October the month of horror. Sorry that this video took so long to make. Between a lot of things in our personal lives and the general difficulty we had with the making of this, it took far longer than we expected. And there's your ghost story. Sometimes the most truly terrifying thing in the world is life itself and the grueling trials it forces you through.
The game we'll be featuring today is Darkstalkers 3, or as it's known in Japan, Vampire Savior, a fighting game featuring Capcom's cast of mummies, vampires, demons, and various other supernaturals. Also known as the game with Morrigan in it. As you can probably guess, there's a lot of untranslated Japanese dialogue in the game, so our treat to you is explaining all that we can. With the help of the Japanese-only book, All About Vampire Savior, we've translated most of the characters' dialogue, since the console version includes characters cut from the arcade version. We also weren't able to capture footage of certain moves, quite a few of them are really hard to pull off, and we aren't exactly experts at fighting games.
Matt's better at it than me, that's for sure.
We're still going to be covering as much as we can, but there are a few characters that we don't have to worry about, such as Lord Raptor, since he speaks English, Rikyu and Pyron, who don't speak during fights, Kyubi, since she speaks like that one scene from B-Movie, and lastly, Anakaris, because according to the book, he speaks in a language incomprehensible to our own world. With the introductions out of the way, we can finally ask, what are they saying in...
Without further ado, we begin with the series' most iconic characters, Morrigan, and her literal other half, Lilith. Morrigan is a succubus, so a lot of her taunts are all about her flaunting herself. Some of her special moves are heavily accented English, like Soul Fist. Others are pretty direct and blunt phrases in Japanese. Thankfully, it was pretty easy to complete all her moves. Lilith, on the other hand, just this one move was really difficult. The idea is that you're supposed to match the button presses to the rhythm, but we weren't very good with it. Even Lilith called us out on it.
Should you actually complete the combo, she's supposed to say... Most other moves, similar to Morrigan, are accented English. But there is one attack where she turns her wings into a bow that slingshots her opponent across the screen. Though if she misses, she stumbles and says, which is the Japanese onomatopoeia for a frog croaking.
So, ribbit ribbit. Why?
Don't know. As you can probably tell, Lilith is a bit more carefree than Morrigan, especially if her taunts or wind quotes are anything to go by.
The next character is Dimitri Maximov, a vampire with a sick haircut and an even more badass dress sense. What's not so badass is his move, Midnight Bliss, wherein he changes his opponent into either a younger version of themselves or completely gender bends them and then drinks their blood.
Come on, baby.
Totally not creepy. But then again, he is one of the bad guys, as his ending shows him trying to drain Morrigan for her power.
Now let's move on to Donovan, a half-vampire accompanied by Anita. Some of his quotes should be familiar to those who have watched our Street Fighter and Smash Brothers videos.
闇に帰れ。手を幻なのか。我に光を。
Whenever Donovan wins a fight, Anita will occasionally chime in with some parting words.
手をありだ。
Sadly, I don't know if these are all of his lines. We played with him for a long time, and we're still not sure if we got everything he says. He doesn't even show up in the book, so we have to go on what we captured.
We tried, we really did. Our last vampire character to cover is Hisenko, the Jiangshi, or Chinese hopping vampire. Her intro and win quotes use basic Chinese phrases, like hello and thank you. Some other not-so-basic phrases include one of her victory lines, and her special move where she summons a sword from the ground. If we take a closer look, the words Imperial Edict, Rising Dragon Sword are etched onto the blade. Two last bits of trivia that we can mention about Hisenko is that sometimes she shoots out a bust of Akuma from Street Fighter, and said bust has, you guessed it, 10 written on the back. Never thought we'd see that again. The other thing about Hisenko is that her sister, Mei Ling, is the talisman attached to her head. Both their original Japanese names are Lele and Linlin. Now we can talk about Bishamon, an undead samurai wearing possessed armor. One weird thing about him is that sometimes when he taunts, he says gomen, which means sorry, but what's he sorry about? Cutting your head off? Flattening you with cement blocks? Asking you to hand over your blood? Getting some mixed messages there, Bishamon. Okay, take it easy now. You can stop. Yeah, exactly.
Our next fighter is Weitzel, or as he's known in Japan, Phobos, a much easier name to pronounce than his full name, which I'm not even going to attempt. Weitzel itself doesn't talk, but the little boy Cecil does. Or at least he's supposed to. We played a lot as this character, and yet all but two of his lines escaped us. Moving on from robots, we have the Frankenstein-inspired monster, Victor, who much like Donovan, is run by a little girl named Emily who speaks during his intros and wins. There's also his taunt, which is one of the rare times that he speaks. And that's it for Victor.
Really? That's it?
Really, unless of course you want to talk about his grab attacks.
Yeah, alright, let's move on. The next fighter to cover is Baby Bonnyhood, or Buletta. A little girl wearing a Little Red Riding Hood style getup, complete with basket and a cute little dog named Harry. Oh, she acts all innocent, but it's to hide the fact that she's actually a cold-blooded demon hunter. BB Hood also has one unique opening line when she's fighting against John Talbane, the werewolf. Speaking of which, what a perfect time to bring up John, who only has one spoken line of dialogue. That's it. That's all he gets. I guess one last thing we can mention is that John's Japanese name is Garon, which is a play on words, since it's very close to the Japanese word for hungry wolf, Garo. Another character with only one win quote is Sasquatch, where he might be saying the ever-popular victory line, Yatta!
Two fighters remain. Time to focus on the sadistic Jeddah, the main antagonist of the whole game.
恐れてはいけない。私は最初であり、最後である。魂と血の返済を求める。ふん、弱いな。やれやれ、こんなに弱いとはな。 我が肉体となって生きよ。
Jeez, I thought Dimitri was a weirdo.
Take a look at some of his moves. There's a lot of spikes and blood.
死ね。はせよ。その魂我に捧げよ。契約完了。
It's time for the home stretch, and we save the best for last. Everyone's favorite cat girl, Felicia. The first thing to note is one of her moves is the Neko Punch. Neko is the Japanese word for cat, which some of you probably already know if you watch some anime, and I've seen your JoJo comments. I know some of you guys do.
Felicia is a pretty easygoing character. A lot of her moves are her simply being playful. But much like a cat in real life, she can go from 0 to 100 in the blink of an eye.
Oh boy, don't I know it.
She doesn't have any victory quotes, just a few animations of her feline mannerisms, like chasing butterflies and catching mice. But she does have this one girl doing what I can only describe as the caramel dancing before it became the internet phenomenon that it was.
That covers all the characters in the final game, but before we go, we dug up some cut content that we can dive into. Thanks to the cutting room floor for finding this info. It turns out Felicia had one more thing to say.
Donovan has a few cut lines too. We may not have gotten all his dialogue from the main game, but at least we got these. There are also what must be joke takes from Dimitri's voice actor left in the audio files.
These next lines actually aren't cut, but they're really muffled French dialogue from the opening of Vampire Savior 2, a game that never left Japan.
L'ennemi? D'où venais-tu? Notre peuple ennemi du tien.
And that's all the cut content that we could find. It's not much, but it's always fun to learn more about stuff like that. And with that, I think we can call this an episode. So Nick, what did you think of Darkstalkers?
I liked it. I'm not that good at fighting games, but this one was pretty fun to play. The only thing that sucked was that we had to play hundreds of matches and we couldn't even find everything we were looking for just because of bad RNG. That and we had to turn the game off and on a lot, which made the Capcom intro jingle play one too many times for my liking. If I never hear that sound ever again, I can live a happy life. On that note, I think it's time to put this video to rest. Thank you so much for all the support, guys. If you watched this video all the way through to the end, thanks a lot. If you liked it, share it around, it helps us out.
Comments are always appreciated, especially if you made a slip up or missed something. Also, feel free to check us out on our social media junk to stay updated, or if you want to stop by and say hi. So until next time, guys, take care, and we'll see you in the next video.
Happy Halloween!
Hey, Nick?
Yeah? Oh my god, no!